Welcome to Alice Just Alice 55. You're listening to an AI-narrated audiobook version of my original story, The Unclaimed Werewolf, an Unbound Wolves novel, written by Alice N. Smith. Chapter 45, Where Love Waits Without Claiming. The clearing felt different, not quieter. There were still voices, movement, the low, constant sounds of people existing together, but steadier, as if something that had been leaning precariously for far too long had finally found its balance. Brooks noticed it the moment he stepped back into the space Nora had claimed as hers. Eamon was the one who told him. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't announced. Eamon simply crossed the clearing, looking tired and quietly pleased in a way Brooks had never seen on him before. "She's formed a pack," he said. "I'm her beta." For a heartbeat, Brooks only stared at him. Then the tension he hadn't realized he was carrying slipped loose all at once. He exhaled, slow and deep, bracing one hand against the trunk of a nearby tree. Relief washed through him so completely it left him lightheaded. "That's good," he said finally. Eamon smiled, a real one. "Yeah, it is." There was no bitterness in Brooks, no flicker of disappointment that it wasn't him standing at her side in that way. If anything, the decision only confirmed what he'd already known, even before he'd admitted it to himself. Nora had chosen because she wanted to, not because she was cornered, not because she was forced. That mattered more than where he stood. He found her later near the edge of the clearing, where the trees pressed close enough to offer shade without closing her in. Morsel was sprawled at her feet, gnawing enthusiastically on something he'd clearly liberated from a careless cook. Nora didn't stop him. She never did, unless he truly crossed a line. She looked calmer, not lighter, not carefree, but steadier. Like someone who had braced herself against a storm and come out the other side still standing. "You did it," Brooks said, approaching without hurry. She glanced up at him. "I did." He nodded once. It was the right choice. Her gaze lingered on him, searching. "You don't sound disappointed." "I'm not," he said without hesitation. She studied him more closely now, as if testing the truth of that answer. "I never wanted you to choose because you had to," Brooks continued. "I wanted you to choose because you wanted to." Something in her expression shifted, not surprise exactly, but recognition, as if he'd named something she hadn't known how to put into words. The silence stretched comfortably between them. Brooks felt his pulse pick up, not with fear, but with something steadier. Resolve. "I need to tell you something," he said at last. "And I want you to hear it knowing I'm not asking for anything." She waited. "I love you." The words felt strange in his mouth, not wrong, just unfamiliar. He'd never loved anyone before, not like this. There had been attraction, loyalty, respect. None of them had ever reached this deep, this quiet. Nora didn't flinch. She didn't step back. She smiled. It wasn't a promise, but it wasn't dismissal either. It was small and genuine and unmistakably hers. "I need time," she said gently. "I don't know what this looks like yet." "I know," Brooks replied, "and that's okay." He took a step closer, not into her space, not pressing, just near enough that the truth of his presence was undeniable. "I'll give you all the time in the world," he said, "and if you ever decide you want me, really want me, I'll give you everything I have." Her breath caught, not visibly, not dramatically, but enough that he noticed. "I wouldn't want anything less," she said quietly. That was enough. As the afternoon wore on, the clearing filled again, not with tension this time, but with movement and easy noise. People talked more freely, laughter came quicker. There were small arguments over food, over who had burned what, over whose turn it was to fetch water, mundane, ordinary things that somehow felt monumental simply because they existed at all. Yeaman moved through it all with an ease that surprised Brooks. He wasn't trying to assert authority. He didn't need to. He belonged at Nora's side in a way that felt natural, inevitable. Halvar lingered on the edge of things, watching with an expression Brooks couldn't quite name. There was loss there, and pride, and something that looked a lot like peace. When the sun dipped lower and shadows stretched long across the ground, Eamon's voice rang out through the clearing. "Dinner's ready!" Groans and laughter followed immediately. Someone complained about portions. Someone else argued, good-naturedly, about who had cooked what. Morcel sprang to his feet at once and tore toward the sound, weaving through legs, skidding dangerously close to disaster and clearly delighted by the chaos he caused. Nora watched it all from where she stood, the firelight beginning to glow, the sound of people settling into something like belonging, the shape of a future that no longer felt imposed. She hadn't bent, she hadn't been claimed, she had chosen, and for the first time, the life ahead of her didn't feel like something she had to defend. It felt like something she could live,